Hey guys, I am here to do a tag for you today. It is an adoption tag. I did make it up. Let me close the door. Hopefully that helps with the lighting. I took a shower a little bit ago and dried my hair, so my hair hasn't settled down. I may play with it. I know that's a big pet peeve for some people, so I apologize. If that really bothers you, you might want to just click out so that you don't see that. Anyway, so I'm here for Foster Friday to actually do a foster and adoption tag. Awesome, finally. I was going to try to edit this so that you didn't see the ums and the lookaways and the whatever else. But again, I don't have Movie Maker on my computer yet. My husband said he's working on it, so hopefully I can actually edit things soon so that you guys don't have to see my crazy. I will be updating soon about TTC, IVF, weight loss, all of that. And let's go. So this is the adoption tag. I did make these questions. If you're an adoptive parent or know any adoptive parents on YouTube, please feel free to tag them and or to tell them about it and see if they would be willing to talk about these questions. These questions are ones that I tend to get a lot, so were easy for me to write down. If there's any other questions you have about adoption, fostering, any of that, please feel free to leave them below. I haven't been the best lately about responding to comments, but I am getting to that today. My girls have finally started school, so I've had more time to, you know, clean the house and start vlogging again and all that. So very exciting. Let's get to it so that I'm going to try not to ramble too much, but I am also going to try to talk somewhat quickly but not too fast so that it's not a 20-minute video. Okay, number one, how was adoption part of your life? I am an adoptive mom through foster care of 2 girls. When did you begin to think about adoption? What age? I don't know what age. I remember that I was really young. It was before high school even. I remember thinking about adopting kids even in like 6th grade. I don't remember exactly how far before 6th grade I had thought about it, and I don't even remember how I learned about adoption and foster care. To my knowledge, I didn't really know anybody that was adopted, and I certainly didn't know if anybody I knew was through foster care. I think even now, it's not really something you talk about as a foster child or as a foster parent. You don't just go, hey, my kid's from foster care. Like, you don't do that because it opens up a whole lot of questions that you don't necessarily want to just lay out on the table for every person. So I don't remember how I learned about it, but I just remember always wanting to do foster care and adopt, and it's always been a strong conviction of mine. What made you decide on adoption? Again, I don't remember. It's just something I've always wanted to do. The only thing that I have ever constantly known that I wanted to do from day one was be a mom, and I've always known that since I was little. Yeah. Did you or your spouse bring it up? If you're married or committed. I brought it up first, and I brought it up during when we were getting really serious, before engagement and all of that happened. Before we got super serious, I laid it all out on the table. I said, these are the things I want. I want kids. I want to buy a house. I don't just want to live in apartment to apartment to apartment for the rest of my life. And I would like to be financially stable. I would love, and my number one priority was to be a mom, and adoption was part of that. So it was kind of a deal breaker for me if my future spouse was not even willing to consider adoption. So I laid that all on the table for Jeremy. And the next question is, how did that person react? The person that wasn't bringing it up. And he reacted really well. He was like, okay, I'm totally open to that. It wasn't something that he had, had a serious conviction about before, but he was totally open to that and thought that was cool. Number 6, when did you start the adoption process and why then? We started it technically in 2011. It was when we put in our first phone calls and started gathering paper and stuff. But our classes didn't start until October 2012, and we started then because knowing that we both wanted to adopt and have biological children, it really wasn't a question. We had been trying for 2.5 years at that point, and it was just like, okay, we're going to put the natural trying and the fertility treatments on hold for a while so that we can really start our family, because at this point the important thing to us is getting kids into our home and really growing our family. It doesn't matter how, we just want to get kids into our home and be parents. What adoption route did we go with? We went foster to adopt. How many children do you want, and do you currently have any in the home? I want 4 kids. Jeremy wants 3. We'll see how that happens. I think he's a little bit more open to 4 at this point, but we'll see. Do we have any in the home? Yes, we have 2 daughters that are from foster to adopt. How long was your process start to finish? Technically 2 years from first class. It was about 1.5 years to adoption day, which is really very fast, especially around here. What was the hardest part of the process and the easiest? The hardest part of the actual process, nothing to do with the kids, just the process, was seeing that the system is so not geared towards the kids. The system is geared towards the parents until termination of rights, and that's not something you really see or hear about until you're in a foster situation or in an adoptive situation. Everything is geared towards the parents until termination of rights. So until that termination of rights hearing, it was literally a fight for anything. When we needed services for, you know, one of the girls had some muscle tone issues, so if we needed services for that, it was a fight. And if we wanted to travel anywhere outside of the city that we live in, it was, we had to get parental permission. The biological parents can control anything from, you know, they can say what they are or are not allowed to wear, how they need their hair cut. So we had to keep their hair cut a certain way. Even if the girls asked to get their hair cut a different way, we had to say no. They're allowed to, as the parents, say they have to go to church on Sundays, or they are not allowed to go to church on Sundays. So that's really hard, and seeing that everything is not geared towards the safety of the children. You know, they take them out of the home for the safety of the children, but everything else in the process is geared towards getting reunification, putting the kids back in the home. So it's all geared towards the system helping the parent succeed, the system giving the parent chances, the system doing this for the parent, for the parent, for the parent. And that was really hard, knowing that even though the initial safety of the kids is a priority, beyond that, the kids really aren't a priority until termination of rights. So that was really hard. The easiest part of the process itself was the classes. To be honest, it was the classes. Even seeing all the situations, seeing the videos, hearing about all these crazy situations, that was the easiest part of it. Number 11, what is the hardest part of having adopted children, and what is the easiest? The hardest part of having adopted children, realistically, is not having been their parent from day one. And it's not that they're adopted and then they're not my blood. That's not the hard part. It's the guilt and the regret that I feel not having been there from day one to be able to protect them from all of the things they experienced before they came home to us. And it's the guilt that I feel that they weren't in my tummy, and that they weren't, that I won't be able to say I was your mommy from the beginning. And you know, as they start to really realize and know more of their story from the beginning and what happened to them and how things happened, the regret and sadness I feel overall, the pain they are going to experience, coming to know those things and those thoughts about why they didn't get to stay with their biological parents and why their biological parents didn't care enough about them to shape up so that they could, be their parents. That is hard. The easiest part about having adopted children is having kids, having them be mine. They are mine. That's it. Having them be in our family, I don't see them as any different than a biological child would be. And that's not true of every parent. That's not true of every adoptive family. That is just the easiest part for me and me personally. I know there are plenty of parents who think that it's not going to matter to them, and then it kind of does, and that gets to be really hard for some people. Would I do it again? Absolutely. I would do it again in a heartbeat. Number 13, what's the most common question I get and the most annoying question I get? The most common question I get, which never ask an adoptive parent this, ever, just don't. Are they drug babies? It's none of your business whether they're drug babies. I'm not going to tell you whether they're drug babies. They get enough stigma just being adoptive kids, and they get way more stigma about being foster adoptive kids, that I'm not going to put the stigma of whether they're drug babies or not on them. It's nobody's business. That's definitely one of the most annoying questions, but the most annoying question to me is, what are their real parents like, or anything about their real parents. Their real parent is right here. I am their real parent. So that's the most annoying. Number 14, do your children know they are adopted, and how did you tell them? They know they're adopted. They were 4 and a quarter when they were adopted. They know. It was a big day. We made a big deal of it. We will always make a big deal of it. So there was never really a time that we sat down and said, hey, you weren't from mommy's tummy, you were adopted. It's just always been known. And even if they had come to us as an infant, it would have been something that we talked about from day one. It would never have been a secret. So, yeah. Number 15, are you in contact with BioFamily, and to what extent? Sort of. We're not really. I have a Facebook account that originally I thought was going to be able to kind of converse with them, and as the girls wanted to talk to them, if they wanted to talk to them, would be able to do that through the Facebook account, would be able to keep the Facebook account updated with information about the girls for them so that they could keep up, and then with a mixture of other things, which if you'd like I can talk about, and I probably will talk about in a different video, but with a mixture of other things and the fact that the girls asked me to stop updating BioFamily, we have deleted everything except the account itself and one picture, and I will respect their wishes. I will not upload any information about the girls until they say it's okay, and if they ever say it's okay. But I am keeping the account so that if the girls are in a good enough state of mind, want to talk to their BioFamily, and are truly ready for that kind of thing, we know how to contact them. Number 16, do I tell people about adoption or avoid the topic? I don't avoid the topic, but it's not something that is necessarily we go around just throwing out, oh yeah, they're adopted, hey, they're adopted, hey, my kids are adopted. We don't just go around constantly talking about it. But it's not something that we hide or avoid. If people have questions, we answer them for the most part. Let's see, where am I? Number 17 is, how did your family react to adoption, and have they accepted the kids the same way? Everybody was really excited for us to adopt, was very excited to see where our journey was going to take us, the kids that we were going to get, all that kind of thing. Everybody was really excited and happy for us. Most people did not know about our infertility journey, so I think a lot of people wondered at that point whether we were going through infertility, but a lot of people also knew that I had wanted to adopt from the beginning. So some people, I think, just assumed that we went that direction first. And have the kids been accepted the same way? On my dad's side, yes, absolutely. Except for my grandma, but my grandma's kind of woo. Yeah. On my husband's side, at first I thought they had, and then a biological grandchild came, spent the summer with us, and seeing them with her versus with our kids, it is different, and that kind of makes me sad. It's not different to the point where it's really troublesome, but I think at some point in their lives the girls will notice that it is slightly different. It's not that they love them any less, it's just different. How has adoption changed my views on parenting? On parenting itself, I don't think adoption in general has really changed my views. But I was a nanny for years. I was in childcare for years. I've been working with kids and parents since I was 14. So I don't think I really had any delusions about what parenting would be or what it would be like to have kids in the home. It did. I mean, it changed having kids with me 24/7 versus having kids with me and then, you know, leaving them at the end of the day. But while I was nannying, I kind of treated them as I would treat my own kids. So I don't think there was really any delusions for me personally. I think it's changed a little bit for my husband, but yeah, adoption itself hasn't changed any views on parenting itself for me. If I could change one thing about the way people see adoption, what would it be? I think I would really try and get people to understand that we are the real parents, and when you say things like, oh, what are the real parents like, or where are their real parents, just anything with their real parents, it's really demeaning to the family, and it's very frustrating. We are the real parents. I'm not just a babysitter. I'm not a stand-in. I am their mom, and I think a lot of people say they get that but don't really get that, and it comes across in the way you talk about adoption. And just because I didn't have them from a baby doesn't mean that I missed the hardest years. It doesn't mean that I have missed the easiest years. But just because I didn't have the sleepless nights doesn't mean I'm lucky about that. I would have given anything to have the sleepless nights and the diapers and the whatever else from babyhood. There are other hardships that come along with adoption that you can't understand until you've been an adoptive parent. And I think people making those assumptions and going, oh, well, at least you didn't have those sleepless nights. I would have given anything for the sleepless nights. I would have given anything to have them from the very beginning so that they didn't have to deal with those hardships. So that, and also the stigma of what adoption is, placing that on a child. Oh, you're an adopted kid. And it's like, so what? But that's what I would change people's views on. Number 20, any advice you would give to others considering adoption? Be completely and brutally honest about what you and your partner can handle. Brutally honest. And if you're on the fence about anything, maybe I could deal with a kid that has Down syndrome. No, don't. Just assume that you wouldn't be. Anything that you are kind of on the fence about, just know that it probably won't work out. If you're not completely brutally honest with yourself and with your adoption worker as to what you are prepared for, you're going to have a disrupted adoption, or you're going to wake up one day exhausted, from everything you've been dealing with and go, what the hell did I do? And you're going to start regretting it. And that's an awful place to be. I've seen adoptions disrupted because people took on more than they really knew they could handle, thinking, I just want any child. And that's not the way to look at adoption. You want your child. You want the child that is meant to be in your family. And trust me, I promise you that if you wait it out and if you are totally honest, the child that is meant to be in your family will come to you. It will happen. It's miraculous that it does. But everybody that has had a successful adoption that I've seen and talked to has said from day one it felt like they were meant to be in our family. And it just happens. I don't know how it happens, but it's like finding your soulmate. It just happens, and suddenly it's like a piece of the puzzle came into play. And the people who were not totally honest with what they could or could not handle, or thought, I just want any child, I'm willing to take any child, and then ended up having a child that has a lot of issues and more than they could deal with, it becomes something that disrupts adoptions and can really turn a lot of things sour. So that would be my advice, is to be brutally honest, to really delve into who you are as a couple, as an individual, what you as an individual can handle, what you as a couple can handle. Just be honest with yourself. And there's a bonus question. Hardest question your kids have asked about biofamily and or adoption. The hardest thing that my girls have asked about biofamily is, why couldn't they be my mommy and daddy? And it wasn't like oh, we don't like you, we don't want to be with you, why couldn't they be my parents? Which I fully expect in teenage years to have that conversation, because they do have that ammunition, well, you're not my real mom. But that was a hard question to explain, especially because I try very hard not to say anything negative about their biological family. So that's a really hard question. About adoption in general, I think it's hardest for us to answer the questions about why everybody's not adopted, because at this point, you know, them being 4, almost 5, their assumption is that they're adopted, so everybody's adopted. And they know that's not the case, but then it becomes, well, why isn't this person adopted? Why is this person staying with the mommy that they were in their belly? So that gets kind of hard. It gets kind of tricky, especially trying very hard not to paint biological family in a bad lighting. But there's been times where they've asked, why couldn't I be in your belly? And that was really difficult. That is the tag. That is the questions. I'm so sorry. It's like 24 minutes by the end of this. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that answers some of your questions. If you have any extra questions, please feel free to ask them below or send me a PM, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.